What if everything you know about Custer's last stand is wrong? One survivor's untold story reveals the chaos, the courage, and the fatal mistakes of America's most infamous battle. June 25, 1876, the Battle of Little Bighorn. A day when the U.S. Army faced a crushing defeat against Native American warriors. An epic clash that shocked the nation. Enter Charles Windhoff, a German immigrant, a private in Company L of the 7th Cavalry. He wasn't just there, he survived it. And get this, he even earned the Medal of Honor for his bravery. Want to hear his jaw-dropping tale? Hit that like button and subscribe right now to uncover a story you've never heard before. Sweat beads on your brow, Charles Windhoff, as you rein in your horse on June 25, 1876, the vast Montana sky stretching endlessly above. You're a German immigrant, once a stranger to these plains, now a private in Company L, 7th U.S. Cavalry, riding under Captain Frederick Benteen's sharp command. The Little Bighorn River snakes through the valley below, its waters glinting like a warning. You're no officer, just a man who swapped old-world struggles for a new frontier. Yet here you are, carbine in hand, pulse racing, about to face a firestorm that'll sear your name into history. 2 years earlier, in 1874, gold sparked in the Black Hills, a rugged sanctuary promised to the Lakota Sioux by the Fort Laramie Treaty of 1868. That promise shattered when prospectors swarmed in, and the U.S. government shrugged off its own ink, demanding the Lakota and Cheyenne retreat to reservations. By January 31st, 1876, or face the consequences. Sitting Bull, a Hunkpapa Lakota holy man, and Crazy Horse, an Oglala warrior with fire in his veins, stood firm, rallying thousands to defy the ultimatum. By June, their camp sprawls along the river, teepees dotting the earth, warriors ready with bows and rifles. On your side, Lung called George Armstrong Custer leads 600 men, splitting them three ways, 209 with him, 130 under Major Reno, and you among Benteen's 125. The clash comes fast, 268 cavalrymen dead, 55 wounded, yet you walk away, Medal of Honor dangling from your neck for courage under fire. But why did Custer's gamble fail so spectacularly against a force 3 times his size? How did you, a quiet soldier, survive when legends fell? And what does this battle, a tangle of broken treaties and fierce resistance, whisper about justice in America's march west? Ride with me through Windhoff's eyes, where every answer raises a sharper question. The Montana sun dips low on June 24th, 1876, casting long shadows over a dusty camp 25 miles from destiny. You're Charles Windhoff, a German-born private in Company L, 7th U.S. Cavalry, and your boots crunch against the dry earth as Lunk call. George Armstrong Custer paces nearby, his golden hair catching the last light. He's restless, barking orders to his 600 men, 31 officers, 566 enlisted, plus a handful of scouts itching to move. This isn't a random outpost. It's a launching pad for war, a mere day's ride from the Little Bighorn River where the Lakota and Cheyenne wait. Their numbers swelling, 1,500 to 3,000 warriors strong, backed by a camp of 6,000 souls. The next morning, June 25th, the air crackles as Custer splits his force with surgical precision. 209 men ride north with him, their sabers glinting. Major Marcus Reno takes 130 south, grim-faced and steady, and Captain Frederick Benteen, your commander, leads 125, including you, on a scouting mission through the rugged hills, your Springfield carbine slung across your back, its 100 rounds of .45-70 ammo clinking faintly. By noon, chaos erupts. Imagine the scene at 12:15 p.m. Reno's battalion charges across the Little Bighorn River, hooves thundering through shallow water, kicking up spray as they storm toward the sprawling native village. Tipis line the valley, 5 tribal circles, Sioux, Cheyenne, and Arapaho, spaced a quarter-mile apart, a living fortress of defiance. Reno's men, armed with single-shot Springfields and Colt revolvers packing 24 rounds each, hit hard, aiming to scatter the enemy. But the response is a tidal wave. Hundreds of Lakota and Cheyenne warriors, led by the fierce Gaul, swarm out, some on horseback, others on foot, wielding bows, lances, and a deadly sprinkle of Winchester repeaters. Within minutes, Reno's line buckles. His 130 shrink as bullets and arrows find their marks. 15 to 20 men fall in the retreat, their bodies crumpling into the river or littering the bank as survivors scramble up a steep bluff, hearts pounding, horses screaming. The valley echoes with war cries, a sound that claws at your nerves even miles away. Meanwhile, Custer's riding north, his 209 men, a tight column cutting along the bluffs, aiming to strike the village's flank. You don't see it, Charles, but picture the moment. He crests a ridge near what's now the National Cemetery site, and the truth slams into him. Thousands of warriors, not the 1,000 he'd guessed, surging like a storm. Crazy Horse, his war paint streaking red, leads the charge, his Oglala riders slashing through Custer's ranks. Gall's Hunkpapa fighters join in, their numbers, estimated at 2,000 to 3,000, overwhelming. Custer's Springfield Spitfire, accurate up to 600 yards, but they jam fast, greasy cartridges sticking in hot breeches, forcing men to claw them out with knives. In less than an hour, it's over. Custer's last stand, they'll call it. 209 gone, including Custer himself, his brothers Tom and Boston, and not a soul left standing. The ground drinks their blood, a silent tally. 268 dead across the regiment, 55 wounded by day's end. You're with Benteen now, Charles. Your Company L, threading through the hills, dust caking your throat as you scout for signs of the enemy. The terrain's brutal, sharp ravines, rocky slopes, but you press on, the pack mules lagging behind, stuck in a quagmire by a trickling stream. Then it hits. Distant gunfire, sharp and relentless, rolling from the valley ahead. Your horse tenses, ears flicking as Benteen snaps an order. Pistols out, gallop hard. You crest a bluff, and there's Reno's survivors, battered and bleeding, clinging to a hilltop 150 feet above the river. Half a mile away, shadows dart, mounted warriors, their ponies weaving through smoke. You charge in, joining Reno's 110 or so left standing, digging in with Benteen's 125. The air's thick with gunpowder and fear, your Springfield barking as arrows whistle past. Losses mount, maybe 40 more fall over hours, but you hold a ragged line against a tide that tests every ounce of grit. The night crawls by, tense and sleepless, until June 27th dawns with General Terry's column riding in, their 400 fresh troops a lifeline. The native warriors fade away, victorious, leaving behind a field of shattered lives. You hear it still, don't you, Charles? The gunfire from Custer's doomed stand, a haunting echo you'll carry forever. Was it Custer's arrogance that doomed him, splitting his force against an enemy he misjudged? Or did the Lakota and Cheyenne's unity turn the tide, proving numbers and will could outmatch steel? How close did you come to joining the 268, and what twist of fate or strategy kept you alive to tell this tale? Stay tuned as we unpack these brutal hours where every shot fired raises questions history can't fully bury. Dust stings your eyes, Charles Windhoff, as you ride hard with Company L under Captain Frederick Benteen, the Montana hills blurring past on June 25, 1876. You're a private in the 7th U.S. Cavalry, no stranger to hardship, but today's different. Every sound, every shadow carries a weight you can't shake. The Little Bighorn Valley looms ahead, its river glinting like a blade under the midday sun. You've been scouting for hours, your Springfield carbine bouncing against your back when a figure stumbles into view. Trumpeter Giovanni Martini, a wiry Italian from Company H, clutching a scribbled note from L'Uncol. George Armstrong Custer. His horse limps, blood streaming from a bullet wound in its hip, but Martini's oblivious, his face set with grit. "Bring packs quick," he gasps, relaying Custer's desperate order before Benteen sends him back down the trail. You've ribbed Martini before, called him the feisty drummer boy who marched with Garibaldi. But now, as he vanishes into the haze, you see a man forged in fire, one of the last to glimpse Custer alive. The gunfire grows louder, a relentless crackle rolling from the valley below, and your gut twists. You're not imagining it. Horses snort nervously, their ears flicking as Benteen orders pistols drawn. You gallop up a bluff, the ground trembling beneath you, and there it is, a battlefield unfolding like a nightmare. Half a mile away, figures dart through smoke. Warriors on ponies, their war cries piercing the air, while Major Marcus Reno's men cling to a hilltop, their blue coats tattered, their numbers slashed from 130 to barely 110. You charge in alongside Benteen's 125, your heart hammering as arrows zip past, one thudding into the dirt inches from your boot. The chaos swallows you. Men shout, horses scream, and the stench of blood and gunpowder chokes the air. You catch glimpses, a burning teepee, its flames licking the sky likely torched by your Crow Scouts, a wounded trooper dragging himself behind a rock, the distant roar where Custer's 209 are fighting, dying, out of reach. You hear it more than see it, Charles. The gunfire from Custer's stand, a frantic crescendo fading to silence within an hour. Your mind races. Was that 209 lives snuffed out, including Custer, his brothers Tom and Boston, and every man who rode north? The numbers hit hard, 268 dead across the regiment by day's end, 55 wounded, a toll you'll tally later. But right now, it's survival. Benteen's voice cuts through the din, barking orders to dig in, and you shovel dirt with your bayonet, sweat mixing with dust on your face. The Lakota and Cheyenne press close, 1,500 to 3,000 warriors. Their numbers a guess turned grim reality. Some firing Winchesters, others loosing arrows that hum like hornets. You fire back, your Springfield jamming twice, forcing you to pry out shells with trembling fingers, each second a gamble. The hill becomes your world, a jagged lifeline where Reno's survivors and Benteen's troop merge. Maybe 235 men left, holding against a tide that won't relent. Night falls, a restless shroud, and you crouch low, the echoes of Custer's fate ringing in your ears. You've seen Martini's courage, felt the valley's terror grip you as you rode in, and now you wait. Every rustle a threat. June 26th drags on. More skirmishes, more losses, until General Terry's 400 ride in on the 27th. Their dust cloud a faint hope realized. The warriors melt away, leaving 31 to 46 of their own dead by some counts. Maybe 100 wounded, though who can say? Their victory's clear, but so is the cost. You're alive, Charles, one of the few. Your Medal of Honor later pinned for gallantry amid this hell. Your story's raw, a soldier's lens on a day that textbooks polish into myth. No grand strategies here, just the grit of men like you and Martini, facing odds that defy reason. This isn't just a tale of survival, it's a window into the marrow of Little Bighorn, where every shot fired reveals a deeper truth. You saw the chaos, felt the fear, and lived what others only read. But why does your account cut through the noise when Custer's legend dominates? Was it Benteen's caution that saved you, or pure chance in a battle where 600 faced thousands? And what does your voice, a grunt's whisper against a general's roar, tell us about the courage that history often buries? Keep listening as we peel back these layers, where one man's tale challenges everything we think we know. Your boots are caked with Montana mud, Charles Windhoff, as you stand among the survivors on June 27, 1876, the Little Bighorn Valley stretching silent and scarred before you. The air still hums with the ghosts of gunfire, 268 of your 7th Cavalry comrades dead, 55 wounded, their bodies strewn across hills and riverbanks. Across the divide, the Lakota, Cheyenne, and Arapaho ride away, their victory undeniable. 1,500 to 3,000 warriors strong, they've crushed Lieutenant Colonel George Armstrong Custer's 209-man battalion in under an hour, losing maybe 31 to 46 of their own. With 100 or more wounded by some estimates, you've lived through it, a private in Company L, your Medal of Honor yet to come. But the weight of what's happened presses hard. This wasn't just a battle. It was a seismic jolt, a moment that reshaped the plains and left echoes we're still untangling today. Step back and feel the ripple. For the Native Coalition, this is their greatest triumph, a thunderous stand against a U.S. government that tore up the Fort Laramie Treaty of 1868, after gold glittered in the Black Hills in 1874. Picture their camp, 6,000 souls, teepees dotting 3 miles of riverbank, a fragile unity forged by Sitting Bull's vision and Crazy Horse's steel. They didn't just win a fight, they defied an empire, proving that numbers and heart could topple cavalry steel. But victory's a fleeting spark. Within months, the U.S. retaliates, pouring troops into the region, hunting down the tribes with a vengeance. By 1877, most are corralled into reservations, their buffalo herds slaughtered, over 40 million gone by decade's end, their nomadic life snuffed out. You see it, Charles, a win that costs everything, a last dance before the curtain falls. The battlefield doesn't fade, it transforms. Fast forward to June 25, 2003. The Little Bighorn Battlefield National Monument unveils the Indian Memorial, a stone circle honoring the Lakota, Cheyenne, and Arapaho who fought and fell. It's a quiet correction to a story long skewed. Back in 1876, newspapers painted Custer as a martyr. His last stand, a tragic epic, 268 dead under his command, turned into a tale of heroic sacrifice. But by the 1930s, the shine wears thin. Historians like Frederick Van de Water, in his 1934 book, Glory Hunter, start peeling back the myth. Here's a man who split 600 men into three, ignored scouts reporting thousands of warriors, and charged headlong into ruin. You were there, Charles, with Benteen's 125, watching Reno's 130 barely hold on. Was Custer's boldness genius undone by chance, or hubris begging for a fall? The memorial says both sides bled, both sides stood. 31 native warriors named among the dead, maybe 46 by Cheyenne counts like 2 moons. And history's starting to listen. Your voice cuts deeper, Charles. You're no strategist spinning tales from a desk. You're a grunt who felt the ground shake, who saw Trumpeter Martini ride through bullets with Custer's last plea. Your words, scribbled later, don't glorify, they reveal. The chaos as you galloped into the valley, the smoke choking your lungs, the distant crackle of Custer's doom, 268 lives gone. Yet you held the hill with Benteen and Reno, maybe 235 left standing when Terry's 400 arrived. You remind us of the cost, every trooper's fear as Springfield's jammed, every warrior's resolve as arrows flew. This wasn't just America's loss or the tribe's win. It was a mirror, reflecting a nation built on promises broken and blood spilled. Your survival, your medal, they're not trophies. They're scars of a day when courage clashed on both sides, and neither walked away whole. So what lingers, Charles, as the dust settles over Little Bighorn? A native victory that sparked their downfall, a cavalry defeat that fueled a myth, 268 dead, a number etched in stone, yet the native toll, 31 or 46, whispers of a fight fiercer than we admit. Why does your quiet tale outshine Custer's loud legend? Is it because you show us the human thread, troopers and warriors alike, caught in a war bigger than their graves? Or does this battlefield, now a monument, beg us to ask, who paid the real price and who's still paying it today? Stay with me as we chase these shadows where your story rewrites the echoes of 1876. The dust settles over Little Bighorn. Charles Windhoff, as you stand bloodied but breathing on June 27, 1876, one of the few left from the 7th Cavalry's 600. You've seen 268 fall, 55 limp away wounded, while the Lakota and Cheyenne claim victory, 1,500 to 3,000 warriors strong, losing 31 to 46 of their own. This battle's a raw wound, cultural clash, broken treaties from 1868, and war's brutal toll, all etched in that valley. Your story, a private's gritty truth, cuts through. Trumpeter Martini's ride, the chaos you faced, the courage holding that hill with Benteen's 125. It's not just Custer's end, it's a mirror to a nation's cost. Dig into the records, drop your thoughts below. What's Windhoff's survival really mean? Subscribe for more unvarnished history. Where's this trail leading next?